Hey kiddos, today I'm going to read a story about going camping, something that we do in the summertime. And I'm curious, have you ever camped in a tent, a camper, or maybe you just like to stay at hotels? We're going to read a story today about someone that likes to take his camper out. He calls it his Rambler. So the story is A Camping Spree with Mr. Magee, and it's one of Miss Jill's favorites. It's by Chris Van Dusen. There he is. Okay, let's see what happens when Mr. Magee goes camping. Be thinking while Miss Jill reads, what is the setting? Where does the story take place? Who are the characters? What names? Who do I talk about the most in the story? And at the end, I'm going to ask you 5 questions about the story to see what you remember. That's called comprehension, and you can do it. Okay, A Camping Spree with Mr. Magee by Chris Van Dusen. I like the colors of his camper too. It reminds me of the bike I have. There we go. Can you see the picture? Early one morning at 7:03, Mr. Magee and his little dog Dee packed up the camper and hitched up the load, hopped in the Rambler and hit the road. They drove to the mountains far from the sea for 2 nights of camping, or possibly 3. So here they are. Here's their car. Right here is called the hitch, so that they can pull their camper. That's where they'll sleep. There's the doggy Dee, and you have to bring lots of supplies with you to go camping up in the mountains. There's nothing like camping, said Mr. Magee. I know you will love it. Just wait and see. The views are fantastic. There's hardly a sound. Aside from the wildlife, there's no one around. And the air is so sweet, you'll sleep like a log, said Mr. Magee to his small spotted dog. There they are. They're driving up into the mountains. A few hours later, they took a sharp right and found a great spot to lay camp for the night. It was high on a hill with a beautiful view of Mount Adams, Mount Lincoln, and Jefferson too. But perhaps the most wonderful feature of all was the brook that ran over a steep waterfall. So a brook, there we go, the brook is the water, and it leads to a waterfall. Dee gathered pine cones and branches and logs. Magee made a campfire and cooked some hot dogs. And as the sun set behind far distant knolls, they sat roasting marshmallows over the coals. There they are, roasting their marshmallows. Have you ever done that in your own backyard? As the embers went out, they felt tired and dozy, so they climbed in their bunk beds all comfy and cozy. But while they were falling asleep without care, along came a stumbling, bumbling bear. A kindly old bear whose sight wasn't so clear. He couldn't see far and he couldn't see near, but he could smell marshmallows, sticky and sweet. The smell made him hungry. He wanted a treat. Bears have a great sense of smell. He sniffed out the place where the marshmallows lay, but the car and the camper were in the bear's way. Yet that didn't stop the sneaky old snitch. He simply tried squeezing right under the hitch. Is he going to fit, that big bear? Do you see him going under the hitch? What just happened? He disconnected the hitch. And as he was shimmying into the gap, he pushed up the hitch, which let go with a snap. Remember, they're at the top of the hill. What's going to happen? What's going to happen to the camper, do you think, at the top of the hill if it's not hitched to the car anymore? Which way do you think it would roll? Now that the camper and car were untied, they started to roll down the rocky hillside. The car bounced away on the old logging road while the camper was heading to where the stream flowed. It flew down the hill in a wild, bumpy ride with Dee and Magee sleeping soundly inside. There they are. They're rolling really fast down the mountain, but they're still sound asleep. They were snoring and snoozing, enjoying a dream, when splash went the camper right into the stream. Uh-oh. Do you remember where the stream led to? The splash shook the camper. They bumped out of bed. Now what in the world was that, Magee said. And when he looked out and saw where they were, his hair stood on end, and so did Dee's fur. They were caught in the rapids, but that wasn't all. They were headed smack dab for the big, do you remember? Waterfall. Dee and Magee both started to quiver as faster and faster they headed down river. But just when they thought they'd fall over the edge, what do you think stopped them? They were almost to the edge. Is there anything that would stop them in this picture? Their camper got stuck on a rock at the ledge. So there they were, stranded, Magee and his pup, on the top of a waterfall 50 feet up. Miss Jill does not like heights. I would be very scared right now. Very scared. How are they going to get out of this? Any ideas? Meanwhile, that nearsighted bear from before was searching for one little marshmallow more. When lo and behold, as if out of a dream, he spied something sweet floating over the stream. What do you think he thinks is a marshmallow? Do you remember what that's called? But what the bear thought was a marshmallow treat was really the hitch and not something to eat. It reminded him of a marshmallow. The bear was determined to capture his prize, so he jumped in the water right up to his thighs. He splashed through the stream to the edge of the fall and snatched up the trailer hitch, camper and all. So the bear bit the back of the camper, the hitch, and started to pull it back to shore. Dee felt a tug. Magee heard a knock as the bear pulled the camper right off of the rock. He dragged them both all the way back to the bank when he realized the hitch was not sweet but quite rank. He spit out the hitch and left in dismay, while Magee and Dee's camper rolled away. It flew down the path with a jolt and a jar. It is still rolling downhill. Where will they end up now? And stopped in some bushes right next to the car. Dee popped her head out. Magee looked out too. Had they really stopped rolling? Could it be true? At last things were quiet and peaceful and still. They hooked up the hitch and drove off down the hill. I think they were done camping. And on the way home, Magee said to Dee, that trip wasn't quite like I thought it would be. So when they got home with the sky turning red, what is it called when the sky is red at night? Sunsets. They decided to camp in the backyard instead. I like this book. They end up at home, don't they? Do you remember the other book that we read where they end up at home? The Simples Take a Picnic? Didn't turn out quite as they expected, and they were just as happy at home as they were in the park or up in the mountains. What matters most is who you're with and having a good time. So a camping spree with Mr. Magee. Lots that we can talk about with that book and lots that we're going to do a little later. But the first thing I want to do is see how much you remember. That's called comprehension. So if you have a piece of paper and you could number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on your paper. Miss Jill's going to ask you 5 questions, and then I'm going to have you just put the letter next to the number. So you don't have to write the word, just put the letter, and we'll see what you remember from our story. So here's my questions. Okay, here's my questions. Number 1, where was Mr. Magee going? A, to the beach. B, to the mountains. C, to an amusement park. Where were they going? A, B, or C? Number 2, where was Mr. Magee staying? A, in a tent. B, in a hotel. C, in a camper. Where were they staying? A, tent. B, hotel. C, camper. Number 3, what did the bears smell? A, marshmallows. B, chocolate. C, fish. What did the bears smell in the story? Number 4, where did the camper land after it was unhitched? A, on the road. B, in the stream. C, in the backyard. Where did it land? The road, the stream, or the backyard? Number 5, when Mr. Magee ended back on the road, where did he go camping? A, in his backyard. B, back to his spot high in the mountain. C, he never camped again. Do you remember? I think you do. I'll say them quickly. Where was he going? To the mountains. Where was Mr. Magee staying? In a camper. What did the bear smell? Marshmallows. That started the whole thing. Number 4, where did the camper land after it was unhitched? The first time it was in the stream. Number 5, when Mr. Magee ended back on the road, where did he go camping? In his own backyard. Just like you can do. You can camp in your own backyard. You can camp in your bedroom. Does not matter where you camp. It matters who you are with. So next, we're going to learn how to draw a camper. We're going to make you a happy camper.